Yeah, I've been cutting meat for 36 years, I think, is how long I've been doing it. It was funny because our beef council said, "Hey, could you film yourself cutting meat?" And sure. And that's how the first beef video came out. And the guy said to edit that. Well, about 2 weeks later, he left and went somewhere else, and they just took it and released it on YouTube. And we got more and more videos. I got lamb, we got pork, we got,
Yeah.
I don't know how many deer videos I've got, even fish. And
Yeah.
our meat processors in the state said, we just want people to know what it's like going to work for a meat processor. So we made a video about a year ago. This is what it's like working in a meat plant.
Welcome to MeatsPad. In collaboration with the American Meat Science Association, it's a platform dedicated to share breakthrough knowledge that is accessible to the global meat industry. On each episode, you'll have the opportunity to listen and learn from meat specialists and professionals about the whole meat industry. This podcast is brought to you by the U.S. Meat Export Federation, Ultrasource, equipment and supplies for the meat and food industry.
Hello, meat folks. Welcome back to the MeatsPad podcast. It's your happy, hungry host, Phil Bass, back with another meat enthusiast for the week. We have Dr. Gregg Rentfrow from University of Kentucky. Greg, thanks for joining us today.
Oh, it's good to be here. It's afternoon for me, but I think it's still morning for you.
It is this morning here in sunny Idaho. We're having some warm weather right now. Funny, you have warm weather, but I still was able to catch a cold. And so if you're wondering why my voice is a little funny today, listeners.
Yeah. I know what you mean. Yeah, we're warm today, and then we crash tomorrow. It's
sure.
Fall weather, so
cooler weather's on its way. Yeah, well, we're kicking off classes around here, and usually the crud is able to follow us around, and so that's just the way it goes when you get all the people to get back together. Yep. So, well, anyway, reason I had you on, Greg, is I have been a follower of your meat cutting videos for some time now, and let me lay the groundwork here a little bit, because there's probably some folks out there who have seen videos of me. And man, I'm just an imposter, because I use Gregg's videos as definitely a reference. If I get stuck on something, I go back. And so, first off, tell us a little bit about maybe what inspired the idea to start posting these videos, and tell us a little bit about what the vast quantity of videos you've produced, because it's pretty impressive.
Well, I appreciate that. I really do. Yeah, and I'm a little bit different than a lot of meat scientists out there. A lot of our fellow meat scientists, they took a class and got interested in it. I took an after school part-time job in 1988, 89, somewhere in there, cutting meat.
Yeah.
And I jokingly tell my students it was supposed to be an after school job for gas money and beer money. Which ironically it still is.
Still is, right? Yeah.
It still is, yeah. Except for I changed, since I'm in Kentucky, it's no longer beer, it's bourbon, and I got a mortgage and a wife and a 16-year-old now as well. But yeah, I've been cutting meat for 36 years, I think, is how long I've been doing it. And it was funny because our beef council said, "Hey, could you film yourself cutting meat?" And sure. And that's how the first beef video came out. And it was funny because if you watch that video, and when I kind of proof watched it, I told the guy, so we need to edit a lot of this stuff, like where I spit across the room and fumble over my words and everything else. And the guy said to edit that. Well, about 2 weeks later, he left and went somewhere else, and they just took it and released it on YouTube. And we got more and more videos. I got lamb, we got pork, we got, I don't know how many deer videos I've got, even fish. And we've got more. We have one where our meat processors in the state said, we just want people to know what it's like going to work for a meat processor. So we made a video about a year ago. This is what it's like working in a meat plant, and one of my students, who's now, ironically enough, he's an ag teacher now, and we called him Sasquatch. He dressed up in the beard net and the hair net and the hard hat and everything else. So we've done a lot of those videos. But yeah, it's kind of well, to be honest with you, it's exactly what you're doing. It's a different way of reaching an audience, and our administrators like the publications, the extension publications, the research papers. and they like that because you can count those, you
Yes.
know, but you know, the podcast, the videos, and all that kind of stuff. That's a new way of getting information out there. In fact, there's not very many people that say, "Send me a publication." They want a video.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're right. You're
So
right. Well, and so often I get those questions. You know, you and I could probably, well, you could probably recall back, and I know I can, when we would get the question, you know, tell me about these specific cuts of meat, and we go to the meat buyer's guide. We would show them
yeah,
pictures. But
yeah,
now with the advancements in technology and really the ease of making videos anymore, it makes a lot
yeah,
of sense to do that, because now it's not just here's a picture, try to recreate this. It's follow along with this,
yeah.
follow the steps, and that's where I really appreciate the way you go about that. You know, my videos, they have a tendency to have a little more jokes in them, and maybe we can work on your jokes as you go along. But no, I would say they're definitely they're technical but easy to understand, and you're the way that you point where you need to be and cut right here and use your anatomical features. It's incredible to see how many people are just really interested in that, and maybe aren't even in the meat world watching
Yeah.
these things, right?
Oh yeah, yeah, and you know, like I said, you know, before you hit record on this, like we were chatting, I'm amazed at the reach of them. The number of people that I've gotten emails and phone calls from, not only all over the country but all over the world. You
Yeah.
know, and like we have one that's how to make a country ham, and that was really just targeted towards our 4-H project. We've got a big 4-H country ham project, which a lot of people probably, what the hell's a country ham? That's just come to the Southeast, you'll understand what a country ham is. It really floors people's mind on country hams. But we made that for the 4-H, and they threw it on YouTube. And I was emailing back and forth with this guy in Australia
Yeah.
how to make a country ham, you know, and Dr. Dana Hansen at NC State, he and I kind of refer to country ham. If you're still unfamiliar with it, what in the world I'm talking about, it's the redneck cousin to prosciutto, is
Right.
how we describe it. So,
well, I appreciate you saying that, because I did have a specific line item that I wanted to ask you about, and
yeah,
and I think that clears it up pretty well. You know, and for those who are interested, go watch the video, because it's not long, but it's very straightforward, and that's the cool thing about meat cutting, about further processing, especially things like country hams, which is very regional in your case.
yes, yeah.
It doesn't have to take a long time and it doesn't have to be overproduced. It's just, this is what it is. This is how you do it. These are the steps, that's what I appreciate about your videos, is they're very digestible for folks.
I appreciate that.
Well, and maybe you can. Is there a? I will tell you. Sometimes I just type in your name, and then UK and meat videos, and that's how I find it. But is there an easier way to access these meat videos?
Yeah, my understanding, and I'm gonna play. Well, I'm not gonna play. I really am dumb on this situation and this topic. But we have at the College of, Martin Gatton College of Agriculture, Food and Environment. We are now a named college. We have our own YouTube page.
Okay.
Or you can go to our Meat Science webpage there within the Department of Animal and Food Sciences. And all those videos are links to those videos up there as well. Or, sometimes when it comes to APR time, when we have to do our performance ratings, I'll go there and I'll just type in beef fabrication or lamb fabrication. Right. It will pop up, and I'll put, as of this date, there's so many views and right. so on in there. So that's how that I find it myself. Cause like I said, I imagine every university now has a channel. They probably have 2 or 3 channels. I know our athletics has their own channel. Mm-hmm. So, which is, I got to get off campus here in a couple hours because we got a home football game tomorrow. So
look out. Yeah.
Yeah. We got all the RVs start moving in here pretty quick. So.
Well, and maybe some of our gurus at MeatsPad can make some links for those who are interested and maybe haven't seen these videos yet. Let's get the word out there. I think it's really important. And the list, like you said, goes on and on. The beef video is at the top of the list. Amazing pork video. I use that as a reference. I live in the beef world. For most of the listeners out there, they know that. So it's good for me to go and refresh, especially on the pork side of things. And I think you do a great job at looking at the contemporary style of fabrication. It's not just hit everything on the bandsaw and go. It's actual seam butchery, which is it's the right way to do things to optimize a lot of the cuts out of the pork carcass. So.
Since 1883, Ultrasource has been a trusted supplier to the food industry. Ultrasource provides superior kill floor, processing, packaging, and labeling equipment and operational supplies.
Yeah, and you know, I have to kind of preface things. You know, I'm an old retail meat cutter, and so as a retail meat cutter, everything has to look nice.
Yeah.
You know, I was trained, if you put it in a meat case, it's got to look appetizing. It's got to get in the shopping cart. And I'll never forget I worked with one guy years and decades ago, it seems like, and he told me anybody can sell something. The true art is getting them to come back and buy it again. And so that's where you'll see me kind of take a little bit more of that. I hesitate to use the phrase artistic, but a little bit more of that retail look at it. I get it down to where it would be for a boxed product, you know, because that's what grocery stores deal with now.
That's right.
And then here's how we make it look nice. And I get annoyed to no end, you know, when I go into a grocery store and you're looking at whether it's a steak or a pork chop or whatever, and one side of it's an inch and the other side's 3/4 of an inch, you know.
That's a doorstop.
Yeah, doorstop. And I can't. At one time I was on a crusade. I was out to save the cube steak. I really was. And I have to confess I failed miserably because I go to the store and I even trained a bunch. I trained like 500 meat cutters from this one company, and I thought I was on my way to saving the cube steak, but they just you run that piece of meat in that tenderizer so many times, that cuber so many times, and what they think is you got a big heavy chunk of silver skin or connective tissue. You just run it in there, and it doesn't make that more tender. Just spider webs it everywhere. So I apologize to the nation. I tried to save the cube steak in some areas I have, but I failed miserably. You know,
that's all right. The mission continues. How about
that's
that?
Right. That's right. Probably people in Texas that turned that into country fried steak are probably, go ahead.
It's all right. It's all right. Just it soaks up more breading that way, right?
That's right. Exactly.
I wanted. So my main objective was definitely talk about the videos, and for those who haven't seen those, get out there, watch those videos, and hopefully our gurus back at MeatsPad headquarters can post some of those links so you guys can access those. But I did also hear, I want to change gears here just a little bit.
Yeah.
I heard that you've been experimenting with a little bit of a Kentucky version of barbecue boot camp. Is that right?
Yes. Yeah.
Tell us about that.
Yeah.
And what is a barbecue boot camp for those who don't know?
Yeah. So my meat lab manager, Brock Billingsley, he and I have been talking about doing a barbecue camp because there's several other schools, like NDSU has one. You know, Texas A&M's got their brisket school, you know, and I think everybody knows brisket is its own food group in Texas. You know, and so and like as I mentioned his name before, Dana Hansen there at NC State, he's got one. And so the last couple of years we've been going out and trying to helping Dana with his, and we decided we got some grant money and we bought the Traeger and we bought a couple of Weber kettle grills. And here in Kentucky, we don't really have a barbecue style, you know, like you go to Texas for brisket. You go to, you know, Kansas City for burnt ends and wet ribs. You go down to Memphis for dry ribs and pulled pork and North Carolina, or the Carolinas, I should say, both in North and South Carolina. Now you could say we have a kind of a world famous barbecue restaurant in Owensboro called Moonlight, and they do mutton.
Yeah,
and so and they do mutton, and I've not been out there, but we don't have that style, you know. And so my thought was we kind of learned what Dana was doing there at NC State. And I've been in kind of talks with Eric Berg, my PhD mentor there at NDSU. And so we beta tested it this summer. And basically we invited folks out and said, okay, here we go. and we ended up taking a little bit of what Dana does and had people make their own barbecue rub, which was kind of fun.
Yeah.
And then I had Lida Garcia, a good friend of mine at Ohio State.
Yeah.
She came down. If you're going to have anybody teach brisket, you got to get a Texan.
Right.
And you can't get much more Texan than Lida. And so she did that, and we had fun with that as well. So basically, we did a little barbecue tour where we stopped in Texas for brisket, and then we went over to North Carolina for pulled pork, and then we went over to Kansas City for burnt ends, and then we added something else that a lot of people forget about, and it's a cut that we've started pulling out in the meat lab and selling, is the tri-tip.
Yep.
And so we went to California for the tri-tip. One of our USDA researchers has perfected that, and so we did those little kind of barbecue tour of the country. And we also do something a little bit different here in Kentucky. We make these recipe cards, and I'm part of that program as well. It's called Cook Wild Kentucky. And so it is recipe cards for wildlife that is native to Kentucky. So we've got recipe cards for deer and for elk and for rabbit and so on and so forth. And so the Cook Wild people came in and they did barbecue meatballs. And in true Kentucky fashion, all right, we had to end it with a bourbon tasting at our University of Kentucky distillery.
Right.
And so we had a bourbon tasting at the end of the barbecue camp.
Well, how nice is that? See, here in Idaho, we would have like a potato tasting at the end.
Yeah, there you go. Awesome side dishes. Yeah, that's
awesome side dishes nonetheless.
Awesome side dishes. Yeah, but we do have a distillery and a rick house here on campus. I mean, you can't get much more Kentucky than that.
Dude, I'm coming to visit. Oh my gosh. Like it or not, I'm going to show up on your doorstep one day. This sounds like a good old time. And what a cool idea. I talk all the time in my classes and anytime I'm out and about, and look at how food pulls the world together. And it's cool to see how I'm a California expat, but I brought my tri-tip with me. And we got Texans that I met in Dr. Dale Warner at Texas Tech now, but he and I were in grad school together, and he introduced the brisket to me. I didn't know what to do with a brisket coming from California. we would cut stew meat out of that, and I know I'm going to get hate mail from the Texans.
Oh yeah, you ain't kidding there.
We didn't know what to do with something like that, but you mesh these cultures together, and now we're sharing food, and I mean, food is such a universal language, and what a cool idea, a barbecue tour.
Yeah,
awesome.
Yeah, and it really works well for us because, like I said, we don't have a barbecue style,
right?
Whereas, Dana, they have to focus on pork, a little bit of the brisket as well, but we don't have that. So it's just kind of a fun way of, if you want to be, borrow a term from Dana, king of the cul-de-sac, Although I have to tell this story, and I don't think he'll be mad at me telling this story. So he gets everybody together. I forget, he has like 30 or 40 people. And he says, we're going to be eating a lot the next few days. So you may want to have your cardiologist on speed dial. And all of a sudden, this guy this last summer stands up and says, I'm a cardiologist. So he had a cardiologist into his barbecue camp. So,
good for safety. Good for safety.
Right.
Exactly. Keep the cardiologist on standby. Well, how cool. And you know what? There's some philosophy there too. And if you and I had a bourbon, we could probably spend the next 3 hours talking about the philosophy of all this. But
until the bottle's empty,
until the bottle's empty. But we should embrace some of those situations where maybe it is a thing that we don't have in particular. Saying, like you said, in Kentucky, maybe you don't have a barbecue style, but it's an opportunity to just grow and learn and bring in those others, and maybe one day there will become a specific Kentucky kind of thing. But it opens the doors for more learning, which is so cool. So
and you're right. I mean, I do a lot of work with the University of Maine, and going back to the videos, we got Dr. Colt Knight up there at UMaine. He and I made some more videos that we're trying to get out as well. But you go up there and how cultural food is, because I guarantee you go up to Maine and you have a lobster roll in Maine, it takes on a whole different because, if you have lobster roll for dinner that night, that lobster was in the ocean that morning,
Right.
and
Exactly.
that's a cultural thing. And food, when you go traveling, that's why we came up with the idea. Actually, my wife helped me come up with the idea. Don't tell her I gave her credit for that. But we came up with the idea of that kind of tour because when you get somewhere like Maine or Texas or wherever, you want to eat what the locals eat. Everybody
Yes.
can go to chain restaurant A, B, and C.
Yep.
We all have those, but that food, that
Yeah.
cultural thing that brings us together. So you hit the nail on the head with that description.
I always look for the ones that have like a grade B food safety sign in the corner. Didn't quite make it. A little scary on the outside, but that the locals are in there enjoying themselves. And so.
Oh yeah, I'll never forget. Dana and I and his wife Carmina, we were at the National Country Ham Convention in Memphis.
Yeah.
And he said, I got this place to go to, big barbecue place. Sure, I'll follow. We were going down this alley and I thought, oh my God, I've done something to make him mad. We're going to get mugged, and I'm fat. I can't run, and we go, it was like an old speakeasy from the 30s, knock on the door. And it was the rendezvous, and so that was just kind of weird, And you're right. The place looked like a food safety violation in and of itself, but boy, those are good ribs.
Those are good ribs. Quote of the day.
Good ribs.
Quote of the day. Well, Greg, we like to ask everybody that joins us on MeatsPad, how did you get to where you are? How did you get involved? And you already mentioned you have your retail background, but you know what? I grew up cutting meat. I love cutting meat. Never in my life did I think I was going to get a PhD. I thought that was silly, and here we are, the two of us.
Yeah, if you look at my high school grades, you're like, how in the world did that guy become a PhD and a professor at a major university as well? But yeah, no, to go back to what I was talking about, my father started teaching high school agriculture in 1969. And he taught in 6 different decades. That was a weird goal he had, to teach in 6 different decades. And so I was the typical ag teacher's kid growing up. I grew up in central Illinois, Shelbyville, Illinois, bachelor's and master's, University of Illinois. And I did all the stuff that kids did for jobs, walk beans, rogue wheat, detassel corn, that kind of stuff. And I remember when I was 16, my dad says, time for you to get a job that's a little bit more substantial than just walking beans or roguing wheat. And so I went to work for a local grocery store, and long and behold, the guy that ran the meat department was a former student of mine. And he came up to me and said, hey, I need help. Know your dad, you're a pretty good kid. And so I went to work for him, and I worked my way up. I forget how many chains I worked for, but worked my way up to head meat cutter, assistant meat manager, meat manager, zone meat manager. I even went to work for Walmart when Walmart was at the very beginning of their super center concept. Actually, the Walmart that I worked for was the second Walmart super center in the state of Illinois.
Oh, wow.
And they were opening those Walmart super centers up like boom, boom, boom.
Yeah.
And we became a training hub. And so then it kind of expanded from there. Was Walmart would send me out to open up stores and train and so on and so forth. All the while I was still going to school, and I was going to follow in my dad's footsteps. I was going to be an ag teacher. And I went up to University of Illinois, met Dr. Tom Carr and Dr. Floyd McKeith, and transferred up there and just hung with it.
Yeah.
Just hung with it. And everybody says, well, you don't look like you're that old, but how do you have over 30 years experience? Because you start when you're 17. So.
Right, exactly. You start early. People ask me, when did you start cutting meat? I say, well, about 3 years old in my grandmother's garage. They pulled a bench up, and we just start experimenting.
We started experimenting, yeah.
Child labor laws weren't a thing back then. So anyway.
Yeah. Well, in rural USA,
rural America.
They're only a suggestion. They're not really a law.
Merely a suggestion. Exactly. Yeah. Well, I really appreciate your time. I appreciate what you're doing.
Thank you.
I want to come out and I want to learn from you. Especially, I want to hang out and tour the world of barbecue right there in the state of Kentucky, which sounds like an amazing time.
Yeah. Well, I could, one of my research is I'm supposed to go have barbecue in Tompkinsville, Kentucky.
Okay.
And it was recommended to me by a gentleman by the name of Richard Young, which, if you know your music, Richard Young and his brother Fred Young are the founding members of the Kentucky Headhunters.
Oh my gosh.
And Richard's son is the drummer for the band behind me, Blackstone Cherry. And so the four of us, we're going to go down and do some barbecue research.
Yeah, that's my kind of research right there. I like that.
You walk into a barbecue place with a bunch of rock stars, you're good to go.
Oh, man, what a deal. Well, that's awesome. Thank you so much. Like I said, I'm going to try to get the folks at MeatsPad headquarters to get some links out for everybody. Check those videos out. Don't miss out, and reach out to Dr. Gregg, and we'll keep this conversation going.
You bet.
All right. Well, thanks.
Thank you.